Hello, I'm Graham Pritchard and this is my channel Study History with Mr. P. Welcome. This topic summary video for GCSE History focuses on the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. And if you've not yet done so, check out the video that comes just before this, which is about the backdrop to the Cuban Missile Crisis in the form of the Cuban Revolution and Bay of Pigs incident. So the backdrop to the Cuban Missile Crisis is one where the country of Cuba, just off the coast of the USA, had a pro-communist government led by Fidel Castro, which was secretly being supplied with arms by the Soviet Union. On the 14th of October 1962, an American spy plane took pictures of launch pads for medium-range ballistic missiles on the island of Cuba. The President of the USA, Kennedy, felt that this had to be stopped. And this leads to a number of events that are called the 13 days that run between the 16th and 28th of October 1962, and it was a very tense time, perhaps the tensest time throughout the whole Cold War. So US intelligence told President Kennedy that a Soviet fleet was sailing towards Cuba, presumably carrying missiles for the launch pads that had been seen by the spy plane. Kennedy called a meeting of his executive committee known as ExCom, to discuss how the USA should react. A number of scenarios were presented, but it was decided that the USA would form a naval blockade. And the US public were also informed by a television address by the President of the missiles on Cuba. 54 US bombers were prepared, each carrying 4 nuclear warheads. On the 24th of October, the first of the Soviet ships reached the blockade, and after a tense period of time, they turned around. The Soviets had avoided conflict. However, this is perhaps only half the story, because there was a lot of confusion on both sides as the ships approached, and it did seem at one point as if one side may fire at the other before the crisis was averted. During this crisis, Khrushchev had sent a telegram offering to remove Soviet missiles from Cuba if the USA did not invade Cuba. He then sent a second telegram to Kennedy that offered to remove missiles from Cuba if the USA removed their missile bases in Turkey, as well as not invading Cuba. On this same day, a US U-2 spy plane was shot down over Cuba. Now, Kennedy was quite clever in his response. He ignored the second telegram about removing the US base from Turkey and agreed to the terms of the first telegram. And the USA and Soviet Union therefore reached a deal to remove the missiles from Cuba and for the USA not to invade Cuba. But there was a secret part of the deal that said the USA would actually remove their missile bases from Turkey, which was a similar distance from the USSR that Cuba was from the USA. Now, the Cuban Missile Crisis had a number of consequences. Perhaps first and foremost, it showed what would happen or could happen if either side, so the USA or USSR, followed a policy of brinkmanship, which means pushing disagreement to the point of war. As a result, a number of steps were taken after this. A telephone line was set up between Washington and Moscow, and a number of treaties emerged after this as well. A nuclear test ban treaty of 1963, an outer space treaty of 1967, a nuclear non-proliferation treaty of 1968 were all signed as steps to avoid a future war.